Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Kicker Rocks Podcast, 2 Drink Minimum. This episode, the gang got together and we talked about our favorite villains from film. So sit back, relax, have a drink with us, and enjoy. All right. To everybody tuning in, listening at home, and to those of us here, cheers.
Cheers.
This is Kick Rocks Podcast, 2 Drink Minimum. Welcome tonight. Oh, wait, introductions. Duh. Wow, don't edit this.
Why is your drink green?
Keep it going, because there's Gatorade in it.
Oh.
That being said, I'm Bill.
Sergio.
I'm JT.
And I like colors today. Today, kids, we're talking about villains, bad guys, and girls in motion pictures. So who our favorite villains are in films. And wow, it's a broad topic. We could go around a couple times. We'll see how many times we actually go around. But who wants to kick things off? Who's one of your favorite villains in a movie?
I'm going to say the obvious one then.
Do it.
Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight.
I don't know if it was that obvious.
Okay. It's probably the best one
It's a good one.
ever.
I mean, he did win the Oscar for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Why? That's a great pick, I think, but why?
Just the way he portrayed that character. Okay. Now I wish I didn't pick it because we got JT in the room and he's very good at knowing all about comic books.
I'm sure he'll chime in if you're wrong.
And he'll chime in. Like, well, I'll probably be wrong. But I don't know much about the Joker character in the comic books. I only know the Jokers that you would have seen in the Batman television show and then in the 1988 or 89 version of Batman with Michael Keaton. And
Like
Jack
every
Nicholson.
every version of him, they got half right.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. However, what I loved about
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's version is how dark he really was, and I think that he did a really good job from that perspective. He, the jokes that he'd pull and the crimes that he was doing, and the way he just got everybody to really fear him, I thought was a really awesome job.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting thing about it is that in the Nolan trilogy of Batman films, he tries to make him more grounded. Like, what would Batman be like in real life, and what would his villains be like in real life if they actually existed? And I think to tackle the Joker, who's arguably one of the more zany villains in all of comicdom, and to ground him and make him be a believable character, like this person, this psycho, right, could exist in real life, which I think they do a great job of. And to his credit, Heath Ledger did a great job of portraying that character and making him, where you believe this guy walks around in makeup, in that Joker makeup, and is a little bit off, but doesn't think he is, thinks he's introducing anarchy and thinks he's right, which, we could talk about later, but all the best villains do. They think they're their hero in their story, right? And I think they nail it with that character for sure. I mean, that Heath Ledger's Joker in that Nolan-verse world works very well.
They got like the soul of the character right, like his motivations and all that stuff. But it's hard for me to look past the fact that he can take off makeup and not be the Joker anymore at the end of the day. That doesn't work for me.
I got you.
Like
It's got to be the
Joker,
bleached skin.
It's got to be the bleached skin and the deformed face. People forget the deformed face.
Yeah.
Cheekbones all the way up, jawline all the way down. And that's realistic because look at fucking Michael Jackson. That's the closest thing in real life we have to the comic book Joker. Well, he's dead now. But, I just think being a deformed, bleached freak has happened in real life and could happen in a Chris Nolan movie. I think his ego just got the best of him and he decided to go a different way with it. And then everybody took it as being grounded or something like that. Mm. But I think the comic book Joker could work in the world Nolan established too.
Fair enough. Yeah.
At least the physical deformities,
I think so.
I think
they kind of went that way with the physical deformities with his jawline, with the where he had the scars.
Right.
But I mean, I've seen people work at gas stations with those scars before. Like I would freak out a little more if I saw somebody that looked like the Joker.
Yeah, and people with those scars that work at gas stations always tell you, "Oh, going way up there, huh?" I wouldn't go up there.
I don't know.
15 years ago today, 5 teenagers died of that. Like
That's my whiny comic book bullshit accuracy nonsense. I'm so sick of talking about it. So I will talk about what's awesome about him in that movie is that like when that came out, there was like it was like a trend in movies for years to just have like the villain be overly sympathetic to the point where it's like, all right, well, like is this like what? Everybody knows that the best villains in history are always like the Hannibal Lecters and the just this fiercely evil dudes that you're just viciously afraid of, or women, whatever. And like like I feel like for a couple of years it was almost like it was perceived as 2-dimensional to have a villain be a villain, and like it was 3-dimensional and artistic or whatever to have like a villain be sympathetic. And it's like, well, why? There's like psychos in real life, isn't there? And isn't that terrifying? So why couldn't like art kind of like have that too? So it's like it was a refreshing change of pace to have somebody as completely vicious and sociopathic as the Joker be the villain in that movie, and like just get so much recognition for being who he is. And by the way, like Sergio, like. I mean, other than his looks and some of my complaints, like that really is what the Joker's like in the books. Like he is a very scary, scary person.
Right.
And the multiple choice part about his origin is also
exactly. That's another thing they got right.
I love that he tells different stories to different people about how he got the scars.
Right. You never know where he came from. That's another thing that's cool about him.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, and to the point of like how villains were portrayed in the past, and the way this one just broke it. It gave. It was that what was Michael Caine's line where he's telling the story about the guy who stole the
Some people
jewels?
just want to watch the world.
Exactly. It's that element, and that's truly was like a perfect synopsis of who the Joker was for that movie. It was literally just somebody who cared more about destruction and chaos than anything else.
Right.
Like chaos was his goal.
To the point where he even says, and maybe it's a little bit on the nose, but when he burns down his half
for the money,
he even says everything burns. He's basically living out like reiterating Alfred's story from earlier. So
that's my pick.
That's an awesome pick. Good start. Clockwise, Tizzle.
Where am I? Oh, yeah. We're talking about another comic book movie villain.
Do it.
My personal favorite is Loki, as portrayed by Tom Hiddleston.
Interesting.
Now that's a fun one too.
Yeah,
because he's go ahead. He's equally part, though, I think, menacing and funny at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think he really nails the character, and like ever since the first Thor movie, I've been like just crazy about like his portrayal and stuff. And I'll admit it, he's my dude crush too. Everybody gets one. Whatchamacallit? No, he's like in the first movie, it's like he gets more evil as it goes. In Avengers, he was just flat out evil. And like I remember like I would talk to some people and they'd say like, well, he was a little more like I was talking about earlier, like sympathetic or something in the first Thor movie. I'm like, no, he's really not. He's like just playing all sides of everything, and God only knows what his true motivations are, because sometimes he'll say something, where it's like you really think that he's being sincere. Like if he says something about like loving Thor or whatever, or like being angry that that dark elf guy killed his mother and stuff, Malekith, in the second one, it's like you really think like his motivations are coming from a place of passion, sometimes, but then like he'll just turn it around and he'll just be the most viciously selfish person imaginable too. It's like he constantly keeps you guessing.
Yes, but I start to believe his sympathy more. I start to sympathize with him more as the films go on. In that first one, though, I think you're right, because even at the end of the first one, when they're falling off the Rainbow Bridge, and he's saying, "I did it, for you, Father, for all of us."
Right.
And even Odin goes, no, Loki. You know, like he even sees her like, no, you didn't. You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. But then as the movies progress, like post the first Avengers movie, you do start to sympathize with that character, and you do realize, well, he did love his mom. He does have love for Thor. He does,
Right.
you know, there is that part of him, but that's his character arc, I think. We see Loki's arc through the Marvel Universe movies. He's one of the characters we see him, you know, do a complete, pretty much 180 by the time Infinity War rolls around, you know?
Maybe.
Almost. Almost. Yeah.
I mean, how many times even in Ragnarok was he ready to kill Thor?
Sure.
And
He's
then
always-
suddenly he shows up as the
I
savior.
mean,
at
he's
the
a
end.
god of mischief. What do you want? But
yeah, exactly.
he's a little more, I think, definitely
he's-
sympathetic as the movies go on.
He's just super complex. That's why I like
Sure.
him. Like he's like he's just
And
he's
the
got
way
he's got
he's
so
played.
many sides and so many like he's got so many sides of evil that it's pretty cool. It's like I just like it's almost like he is sociopathic and like vain and like narcissistic and all that stuff. And it's like, but when he does feel something, it's almost like you can tell. It's almost like he's tricking himself into believing that he has feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he actually he actually deceives himself.
Yeah.
He actually deceives
The ultimate
himself.
trickster.
Yeah, he's the ultimate trickster because he even tricks himself into thinking that he gives a fuck.
It's good.
You know,
It's good.
but it's always coming from a place of selfishness and vanity. You know,
You can sum it up with this: how
he's the kind of guy who watches his own play of his own death.
Right.
That's true.
And loves it and eats
Yeah.
grapes while he's doing it. Here's how you can sum it up with Loki and how good that villain actually is. Any other villains got their own Netflix series coming out?
Yeah, right.
Just Loki for right now, at least. But yeah. So
Is it-
it's pretty awesome?
Is it
So
not?
when does that take place? Like,
It's the rumor is in spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame yet, which who are you
when
really?
he disappears with the Tesseract
Yes.
in that timeline?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The rumor is they're going to show his adventures from that point on, which is kind of cool. I think.
Interesting.
What would Loki do if he? Now we're talking about this is Loki from first Avengers Loki.
Right.
You know, when he was still on a mission, so to speak. So what is he going to do?
Is it the same actor
who's
who's going to be in the Netflix
Yeah.
version? Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really cool. That's the one I'm most interested in. They're doing there's a Black Widow one. There's
That's a movie. That's a feature length film, right?
Oh, it
The
is.
Black Widow.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It
It's a
comes out
movie,
May
I'm sorry.
2020, I believe.
Well, the series then, what is it? Scarlet Witch and Vision, right?
Yeah, they just announced a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they're doing a
Yeah,
Netflix
Phase
series.
4.
Falcon and Winter Soldier are doing one, and Loki. is
Honestly,
doing
as
it.
much as
and Blade.
as much as I love this geeky stuff,
That's
sometimes
good.
when you see like 70 things announced at once, it
Oof, it's a
feels,
lot.
It feels exhausting.
Yeah, Marvel just. I mean, Marvel just straight up. If they haven't done it already, Marvel just straight up just held a big ass middle finger up to DC and went, "What do you got?" At Comic-Con. That's basically what they just did.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
What do you got?
We're still in talks with
And that's
Jesse
only-
Eisenberg to come back as Lex Luthor.
And they just showed what through 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, something.
That's it.
Oh, wow. Just
Phase
the
4 is
two,
going to be longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
just 2 years worth? Oh.
Need me some X-Men and Fantastic Four.
they are flexing that big Marvel muscle. Yeah.
You almost said dick, and it was really funny.
I know. I would have. I was trying to keep PG.
Loki, though,
They threw their big Marvel dick on the table. And we're just like, DC, what now? Are you happy now? Is that better? All right, good.
Loki, though, I love how they that was one of the when I saw the first Thor movie. That was one of the times where I was like, kind of like, haha, see, it can work. Is like, as we spent a couple of years in the black leather outfit X-Men,
Sure.
and the looking like he's from the Matrix, Dr. Octopus, homeless Matrix, and like the Joker with the face paint or whatever, and it's just like, okay, give me the goddamn green outfit and the bendy gold horns on the helmet. You know what I mean? Like they're just, the Marvel movies have been so good about like breaking that mold that the 2000s set up. The 2010s were all about, okay, like what is with this, like we have to tone down the look crap for a movie. It's like everybody saw Star Wars, right? Did everybody say like Darth Vader's helmet is unrealistic? put the freaking gold helmet with the bendy horns on it. You know what I mean? Like, so they just threw it up on screen. And it looks amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
So
And hopefully that's a trend that it seems to have, but hopefully that's a trend that keeps carrying on.
Yeah.
In superhero movies where they actually go with the costumes that worked in the comic books in the first place.
Right.
And they're not all wearing black leather X-Men.
Yeah. But just the way he plays him, I love too. It's just like, you know, he can like just whisper like he's gonna, you know, like just mischievously and all that stuff. He just seems to take such joy in the madness he brings. Yeah. And then there's the parts where he's just screaming. Like there's parts I just have to rewind in the first Thor movie where, you know what I mean? Or like sometimes I go for YouTube or whatever and I find the clip where he's just like, tell me. Like if I'm texting a friend or something, I'm like, hey, when are we going to that thing on Friday? And they haven't responded, you know what I mean? It's been an hour. Then I'll just find that clip. Tell me! I just love his screaming voice, everything, that speech he gives in the first Avengers movie. You know, Neil! And stuff. I don't know. I just think he's got a cool, angry presence, a cool, toned down presence. He could just play all those levels in between, you know?
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's my pick.
And you're sticking to it?
Loki.
Loki. Sergio, anything to add, my friend?
No, I don't. I mean, I've enjoyed that character, but I haven't felt as strongly and passionately about that character as JT has. I mean, I thought he was a great character, but you're making some really good points that I had never thought about. So I almost want to go back and rewatch like the Thor movies. Because I think I've only seen like the first Thor and Thor Ragnarok like once.
I'm a big fan of the Thors.
I was a really big fan of Mysterio too.
Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
Oh,
well, we could do a round two.
Spider-Man.
We could do a round two. Maybe
Oh, I know. I'm throwing that out there as a thing, you know.
Right.
We hear he's good. So you did a DC character. You did a Marvel character. Of course, I'm going to go with neither. My favorite, and I just was Googling something to look it up to make sure I had this right, because it's a big reason of why it's my favorite villain. But and you mentioned it earlier. I'm going with one of my favorites is hands down Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins.
I almost didn't say it out loud because I was afraid I might have stolen it or something.
In Silence of the Lambs in particular. Because, which I looked up, I had the amount of minutes wrong. I thought it was 14 or 15. It's 16 minutes. He has a total of 16 minutes of screen time in that entire film. And you'd never know it because, to be quite honest, he steals the show. And I think that is a good villain. And he's not necessarily the main villain.
I was about to say.
Because he's behind
not
bars
the main
the
character,
majority
he's
of
not
the
main
time.
villain. Yeah.
But even so, he still steals the show. And you think of him as the main
Mm-hmm. That's what everybody knows. Like,
yeah, you know Hannibal
person.
Lecter.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the way that character's played, Hopkins does a great job. That scene, the first scene where him and Clarice meet, is amazing. I love that scene. I could watch it over and over. Just the contrast of the power dynamics in it, the acting in it, the dialogue. It's awesome. It's a well written and shot scene and performed all at once. So it's one of the best cinema scenes I think of all time, and it's the introduction of this iconic villain.
It's been parodied like so many times.
It has been for sure. Yeah. The best one I would argue is Austin Powers and Goldmember. I think that's my favorite one.
I never saw all that movie.
No?
I didn't get through the first 10 minutes before
You have to at least watch the part where Dr. Evil where they do the Lecter.
Do they do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was going for National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1,
That okay.
where he's like, they pull out their badges and he's like, closer, and they stand closer to each other. It's like, no, closer.
Oh, God. I love it. But he's good. I mean, in that character, you can extend it to Hannibal. You can extend it to Red Dragon.
I liked Red Dragon.
I did too. It's a remake. Have you ever seen Manhunter?
No, actually.
Where Brian Cox plays
Yeah, I heard
Hannibal
about
Lecter.
it.
He does a great job too. So
know
shout
of it. I've
out
never
to
seen
Brian Cox playing him too, because he does a great job. They're two different takes on the same character, but they're very, very good.
Everybody hates Brett Ratner for fucking up X-Men or something. X-Men 3, he's like, just regarded as like a bad director because of that. But it's like, oh, he did Red Dragon. That was good, right? So
I thought so. I mean, I really liked Red Dragon. But yeah, I mean, the character of Hannibal Lecter in all three is he does a great job. It's an eerie, creepy villain who you love to watch because he's also the smartest guy in the room, or at least he likes to think that. Maybe that's his flaw. I don't know, but you like to see how he is going to pick and choose his victims.
Bill, I have a question as an actor.
Yeah.
How is it that certain actors that play awesome villains, like, and it's not even a shot choice thing. It's like you can just see it in the actor's face. Like, how can you see those wheels turning? You know what I mean? How do you make it look like the wheels are turning? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know that technique or something, or do you know? I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm very curious.
If I did, I wouldn't be here. No, I know what you're saying. So, what I think you're saying is like when you watch that scene I'm talking about, where it's the first time Clarice and Hannibal meet, you can almost see the gears turning through his eyes. You know what I mean? You see Hannibal's, and Anthony Hopkins has those bright blue eyes anyway, but you see there's something behind there. And
I just know it was like
I don't know.
eye placement. You know, it's like, well,
I don't know if
hey,
you can teach it.
if your eyes are a millimeter here, then it doesn't look like. But
And I'll say
if they're squinted just this way, then it does work. You know.
And I'll say
know.
this because I don't think I can do it, but I also don't believe you can teach it. I think that's just the person is so zoned into that character that they can give you a crazy look to camera, and it can translate to an audience going, "Oh man, this is nuts." I think it's just the strength of the performer in that case. I don't know if that's teachable. To be honest, I don't think. In my opinion, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on the man or woman portraying that role. You know? It's just how they're doing it, that intensity and stuff. So, but yeah, that's good. That's good. Certainly strong acting. Something I'll never do. But anyway, yeah. I've talked too much.
Good.
Any Hannibal
You good?
Lecter? Thank you. Any Hannibal Lecter?
No, but I mean, I've always loved that performance. But one thing I didn't really know is the 16-minute thing. I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
And that's really
I love
damn
that. I mean,
interesting.
that the really
Because there's that point where it's like he's not even the main villain. He's not the main character. Not
But
the
when you
main
say
villain.
Silence of the
Yeah.
Lambs,
you
the first thing you think of is Hannibal.
yeah, you think of Hannibal Lecter. It's crazy.
Nothing against the other actors or characters. It's just, it's that good.
Yeah.
You know,
Took a class on Hannibal once. We had it in a lecture hall.
Oh, JD.
Dad joke.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Number
good
one.
I appreciate that. Number one. There will be more. Don't worry.
There's always more.
Cool. How are we looking on time? Can we do a quick round two?
I think we got time for a quick round
We
two.
got
Just
a
like
lot
a quick.
of time. We're shredding through this, and there's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to pick Jack Torrance from The Shining, played by Jack Nicholson. He
Doesn't
is,
start out as the villain, but oh man.
he definitely ends up the villain by
Very
the end of that movie. I just always really, really loved The Shining. I always thought that was probably one of Stanley Kubrick's, probably one of my favorite Stanley Kubrick movies. That and Clockwork Orange. I think that's another great Kubrick movie. But
Hell yeah.
But I think that I'd have to say that Jack Nicholson's performance in that, the way he starts off as just the caretaker for the, bringing his family up to the Overlook Hotel in the beginning, and then slowly is turned into the villain. It makes for a really great story. So that's my quick little second round robin choice.
That's all you're gonna say, Serge?
That's all I got.
All work and no play makes Serge a dull boy.
Pretty much.
All right. That's a terrible Nicholson. I'll work on that one. But until then, let's hear what JT has to say, maybe, huh? Yeah.
I don't know, man. What if somebody got? Oh yeah, duh. I went with Freddy Krueger.
Oh!
I haven't talked about Freddy since like the first podcast.
Wait. Which Krueger?
Oh come on, Robert Englund.
100%.
It wasn't Jackie Earl Haley's fault that movie sucked. He probably could have played a cool Freddy, like if they actually gave a shit about the makeup or gave a shit about the story.
Oh, the remake one?
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
terrible movie.
I saw it once and
Really,
I
really
felt like
bad.
I didn't need to see it again.
Yeah, I haven't watched it like since.
Yeah.
But the true Freddy Krueger, I mean, that's a villain so good that's why you go to see it, you know?
Yes.
For better or worse as the series went on. But like, I mean, even the bad ones are entertaining because of him, you know?
Yep.
There's like still like, you know, like,
It became, how is Freddy going to kill this one?
yeah, exactly. Or just like, you know, by the time you're watching the fourth and fifth one, you're like, all right, can these idiots get off the screen and can Freddy Krueger please
Can we have
get
more
on the
Robert
screen?
Englund
Yeah.
making puns, please? Because it's amazing.
Welcome to prime time, dude.
It's still
Fast line.
That was kind of like the turning point. That was like the first
one of the
like
best deaths too.
Yeah.
that was.
How good is
that was
that?
that was one of the first. That was like because Freddy in the first movie, like yeah, he mocked his victims a little, but like he wasn't like a one line machine, you know.
Right.
And like he was just straight up scary, and even the second one too, which was a weird ass movie.
Weird one.
But
Very
like
weird.
the third one, like welcome to prime time, bitch. That was kind of that was when it was
Let's
like, all right,
let Robert
that's
do what
funny.
he wants to do.
Let's do that 400 more times and make it sillier each time. you
Yeah.
know? That's the third one's my favorite, just because that's like the
Well, Dream Warriors is one of the best.
yeah. I mean, other than the first one, it's like my favorite because it's this one of the most watchable because it's like that was like before it got too off the rails. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was still reined in just enough. You know, it was.
True.
But
True.
yeah, I don't know. I just love the design of the character. I'm a very visual guy. Go figure.
You've also drawn Freddy a couple times.
I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a print available and everything. And,
Where can they get that?
Store Envy.
Cheap plug.
Store Envy.
Store Envy.
JT Moore.
There
Store
you
Envy.
go. Look them up. Buy some treats for yourselves, kids.
Yeah. I don't know because like I've heard like tons of tales across the years of like why he looks the way he does. It was because like a guy in a hat came to Wes Craven's door or was looking at him through a window or something when he was a kid, freaked him out.
Yeah.
And
Combo of a couple things, I think.
yeah, and like
The face, though. We've talked about this before. I've always heard the pizza thing is true. Did you hear something?
oh yeah, that like the makeup designer was eating
Yeah.
like cheese pizza or
Started
something.
messing around
Pepperoni
with a
pizza.
fork
yeah.
on it. And honestly, yeah, because if you did that
Yeah.
and you looked at it, if you can picture that in your head, take a pepperoni pizza and just take a fork to it,
Right.
mush it around. It kind of looks like Freddy's face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Christmas sweater, the red and green. I've heard like Wes Craven, I don't know, because I want to just believe him because he's knows what he's doing. He picked it because it was like red and green are like clashing colors.
Displeasing to the
Yeah,
eye.
like they
yes.
just mess with
Yeah.
you. Like you just look at them and you're like, ugh. Like it's just supposed to evoke like a sense of uneasiness when you see those two colors striped with each other.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I can definitely remember being younger and now I'd watch Freddy and like I'd love it. Love
Yeah.
every second of it. Being younger, the dude terrified me.
Yeah.
So there's something there. Like,
the-
he's a scary dude.
Knife, glove.
Yes.
It's just so
Yes.
iconic, Like,
Absolutely.
probably it's gonna be a long time before another horror icon really has something that distinctive, like as far as like a weapon goes, I guess,
That's very true. That's very true. That is, there's no. I mean, Leatherface's chainsaw, maybe Jason's machete, maybe Michael Myers' butcher knife, but no, Freddy's glove is number one. I don't
Yeah.
know if you can beat that. It's tough.
Did you see him recently I didn't watch the show, but of course I had to watch the clip. Was it called The Goldbergs or something? It's like a show that takes place in the 80s.
I know what show you're talking
Yeah,
about.
is that
but
what it's
I haven't-
called?
I
The
haven't watched
Goldbergs.
it. Yeah, the Goldbergs.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like the mom character or something like had like a nightmare and like she fell asleep watching Nightmare on Elm Street and then like Robert Englund reprised his role as Freddy and like just for this episode of the show.
That's awesome.
And so like he's chasing her down and stuff, and then he's just about to kill her, and then like she's like talking about how sad her life is and her kid's fucking up or something like that, you know, and then like he's just like, oh man, that's messed up, you know.
So you guys are heart to heart.
Yeah, like he's just sitting there just like about to kill her, but then he just starts chatting with her, you know.
That's hilarious.
I'll find the clip when we're done with this, but
fair enough. Honorable mention for me, and could easily be number one for me too, is I'm going with Anton Chigurh.
Oh,
No Country for Old Men.
I almost went there, but I've said enough about that movie over so many years.
Yep, great movie. I think just as a standalone villain, he's awesome in it.
Yeah.
He's equal parts terrifying and enigmatic or magnetic, whatever you want to call it, but you want to see what he does. You want to watch him.
Mm-hmm.
Every scene he's in, you're like, what's this guy going to do? He's so interesting, even though he's definitely the bad guy. He's definitely going to kill people.
Yeah.
But he has a code.
Oh god!
And strangely enough,
The
he
way
has a code and he sticks to it. So
Yeah.
there's this weird kind of respect you have for him. It's a really weird dynamic, and it's obviously Javier Bardem kills it in that role. No pun intended. But he knocks it out of the park. So I think he got the perfect actor for that role, written perfectly. It just works really well for me. I love a character like that. So
Yeah, he's awesome because I talked about it before, but it's like like they try to make you think that he's death personified and that there's something supernatural going on, but then they take that back from you at the end of the movie when he gets in like a car accident and he has to pay off those kids to tell them he didn't see anything.
right.
It's like no, he's just a psycho and he's real, which actually kind of makes him more terrifying.
Yeah.
The fact that he isn't a supernatural presence and that he is just a psycho and he's out there. you know?
Yeah,
So I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
going.
Definitely one of my favorites.
It's my favorite movie. So
There you go.
yeah,
I feel like we can go on forever with these.
We could.
There's so many honorable mentions. I mean,
there's one that I want to happen, and it's like
to happen.
I'm breaking it a little bit. It's like I want one of my favorite villains of all time outside of movies because they've tried him 3 times and fucked up all 3 times. Is Doctor Doom.
Whoa.
Okay. And he's probably, other than the Joker, depending who you talk to, the best comic book villain ever.
Sure.
Because he's just the most vain dude on earth. He runs his own country. He's got armor. He's just,
Yeah.
it's just amazing villain. And I'm really hoping that Marvel Phase 5 or 6 or 7,000 or whatever, will finally get a true to character Doctor Doom.
Well, with the rate they're going, it looks like we will most likely get a Fantastic Four movie in the near future, and I don't see how they don't go with Doctor Doom. I hope they do.
Right.
I hope they nail it this time. I think they will. Now that Marvel seems to have control over their own destiny.
I just want to see the most egomaniacal Doom ever,
Yeah.
He's responsible for my favorite comic book quote, which is victory with honor, or no, defeat with honor is merely victory delayed.
I like that.
Awesome quote.
Really, victory delayed. He also has a good one. Doom is no one's second choice. So anyway, that being said, that's 2 rounds. We could go forever and ever. Maybe we'll bring this back at a certain point. Who knows? I'm sure Tony and Joe, who let's be honest, couldn't care enough to be here tonight. No, I'm kidding. We have lives. We have lives outside of Kick Rock. Just Sergio, JT, and I don't have lives tonight. Apparently, no. But anyway, we can do this again at another point. But for now, we're gonna leave it at those are our favorites off the top of our heads. Thank you guys for joining us. JT, take us out.
This has been Kick Rock something. There's some Tony Marino, chicka chicka bow wow cow something.
I thought that was great.
That's perfect. Nailed it.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Two Drink Minimum. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but we tend to record these intros and outros after the fact. So that means that Tony Marino himself is here and he can give us his quick 5-second response to his favorite movie villain. Tony, go.
Shark from Jaws.
Done deal. So the shark from Jaws is Tony's favorite movie villain. Oh my goodness. We have way too much fun here. I hope you guys had fun listening to us too. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know where you can find us. You can download us on iTunes, Spotify, or your preferred podcast medium. You can contact us on Facebook. You can email us. Do it all. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been Two Drink Minimum. We've been drinking, thinking, and talking shop. Cheers, everybody.